in preparation for the SSAT. I'm going to discuss each word individually as we go down these lists. I will discuss the word briefly and then give you a sentence which I hope will illustrate clearly the meaning of the word. Okay, first word, abbreviate. Notice the pronunciation. To abbreviate is to shorten. To abbreviate a book is to shorten the book. To abbreviate a message, to shorten the message. Let's say, past participle most common, the book was abbreviated, or I read the book in abbreviated form, past participle. Second, abdicate. A king abdicates. The word is not used with any other position, of any other position. The king abdicated, King George VII, I think, abdicated in about 1931 or something like that from England. That is, he gave up his throne, abdicated. I'll also be using VT and VI, and you must be familiar with this. VT, transitive verb, verbo transitivo, Latin, means the verb must take a direct object. When you use the verb, it must have a direct object. VI, intransitive verb, does not take a direct object. Abdicate can be used both ways, and that's true of many words and many verbs. Third, abduct. To abduct really means to kidnap. It's a better word than kidnap. The child was abducted, passive, by bad guys. Charles Lindbergh's famous case early in the 1900s, his child was abducted. Abortive means unsuccessful. The assassination attempt, see the word assassination, wonder if it's here. The assassination attempt was abortive, unsuccessful. Related to abortion, the verb abort is often used nowadays, but the adjective is more important. Abrasive, I often use this word. His personality is abrasive. Abrasive is like sandpaper. Ooh, it scratches and it's not smooth. A person's personality might be abrasive, not smooth, not nice, unpleasant. Perhaps likes conflict. Abrupt is an adjective, means sudden. An abrupt ending. The movie came to an abrupt ending, sudden, unexpected. Abscond, verb. He absconded with funds from his company. Another similar word is to embezzle, VT. But to abscond with something is to disappear with something, taking something. Absolution, this is really a serious word in the Christian lexicon. Absolution is forgiveness for sins. Catholics go to a priest, confess their sins, and seek absolution for their sins. That's the serious meaning, and I think that's the only real meaning. To absorb is to soak up. A sponge absorbs liquid. Abstain, verb. To abstain from something is to avoid using it. He abstained from alcohol. He abstained from anything. Drugs or anything. Absurd, one of the most important words surely for anyone over 16. I think absurd means ridiculous, but that's another misunderstood word. Absurd is so irrational, not making sense. If something is absurd, it does not make sense. And so the word is widely used of many things. I call my children absurd sometimes. Perhaps the government is absurd or makes absurd decisions. Great word, important. Abundance, noun, meaning a plenty, a large amount. He has an abundance of friends or of money, perhaps. Now, abuse or abuse, one is the noun, one is the verb. They are spelled the same way. They're pronounced differently. First, the verb. To abuse something or someone is to harm something. To abuse one's children is to harm one's own children physically or mentally. There's mental abuse and physical abuse. And I'm using the noun now. Abuse is harm. But sexual abuse, wide use. Two different words. Abuse, noun, abuse, verb. Accelerate is a verb which means to speed up. VI in cars, for example, he accelerated, meaning he sped up, he pressed the pedal. VT, he accelerated his, no more VI. He accelerated in his studies so that he could graduate early. Access. Access is primarily a noun, but in recent years it has become a verb too. To gain access to something or someone is to succeed in reaching that person. For example, he gained access to the president. He wanted to see the president. He gained access to the president, meaning he was able to see and talk with the president. To access something is a verb, VT, means nowadays, only in the past 20 years, I think it's used in computer language maybe, to access something is to reach it, to come in contact with. Accrue, interesting word. Mostly interest accrues, VI. That is, it grows. Accrue means to grow. Accumulate, another verb, it means to gather and build up into kind of a pile. He accumulated a fortune. He accumulated many friends, possibly. To gather and pile up. Accusation is a noun, of course, to accuse. An accusation happens when you say that I stole Dr. Shin's camera. That's an accusation. I say, no, I'm innocent. I deny your accusation. Acerbic is close to acid. It means cutting. An acerbic comment is a cutting, sarcastic comment, aimed at hurting someone. Acquiescence, good word. Acquiescence is acceptance. The verb, beware of the verb, you have the adjective here, but okay, I'm going to tell you about the verb too. To acquiesce in something might be an SSAT question for real students of the language. Notice, to acquiesce in something is to accept it. I gained his acquiescence, I gained his acceptance, his approval. Acquiescent, adjective form of the same word. He was acquiescent when I asked him for his cooperation. He accepted. Acquire, to gain. He acquired a lot of money or a collection of something maybe. Acquittal, noun. If someone is brought to trial for some crime and the jury or the judge declares that he or she is innocent, then that is an acquittal. That is, he is acquitted of the accusation. He's innocent. He may go away. Acrid, similar to acerbic, somewhat cutting. Acrimonious, bitter. Their divorce was acrimonious, meaning not friendly. A lot of bad feelings. Accusation and counter-accusation. Acrimonious, divorce especially. Acumen, acumen sometimes pronounced. means mental sharpness. Mental sharpness, very intelligent, intelligent, but quick too. Adhere is a verb. If something adheres to something, it sticks to it. But you can also adhere to a rule or a law or a policy. Means you stick to it, you accept it. Good one, good list. Adjacent is an adjective. It means next to, touching, next to, usually in touching. The movie theater is adjacent to the bank. Adjudicate, good. Verb, to adjudicate a trial means simply to judge, to not only a trial but some decision. Adjudicate means let a judge decide something. Adolescent, you all are adolescents. I'm a late adolescent myself. Dr. Shin and I are late adolescents. Adolescent means any word with E-S-C-E-N-T, from a Latin, French too, Italian too, means a process of growing. An adolescent is a person who is growing toward adulthood, not yet an adult. You guys are adolescents. Adoration and the verb adore, let's do them together. To adore something is, or someone, is to worship, to love intensely. Adoration, the noun form of that. The adoration of the Magi used to be a Renaissance subject of paintings. That is, the three kings came to adore the Christ child in art. To adorn is to decorate, to make prettier by decoration. The building was adorned with, I don't know, paintings and decorations. Adroit, good, adjective. Sharp, intelligent, like astute, which is probably somewhere here too. Curious. No, but that's okay. Yes, there it is. Astute, adroit, similar. Mentally sharp, clever, skillful. Adult, that which an adolescent will be. That is a physically fully mature individual. Advantage, if you know this word, I think, if something is to my advantage, or if I have an advantage, okay, I have an advantage over you in English because my native language is English. Big advantage. Excuse me. On the other hand, you are at a disadvantage, or you have a disadvantage. Not there. That's okay. Not necessary. Advertise. Notice the S. Advertise is to make known to the public something. He advertised. He advertised his business, meaning he put advertisements into some organ, some newspaper or something. To advocate, verb, is to support. He advocated freedom of the press, means he fought for and supported freedom of the press. He is an advocate, noun also. He is an advocate of civil rights. He supports and fights for civil rights. Affable, good word. Friendly, smiling, friendly, good. An affable guy, he's an affable guy. Affectation, good word. An affectation, from the verb to affect, an affectation is phony behavior. His affectation of innocence was annoying. That is, what? I didn't do that. You don't mean I did that. It's an affectation. Better yet, affectation is a habitual kind of behavior. Better, my other example is not so good. An affectation of, he pretends to be something that he's not. Difficult. Affluent is an adjective meaning rich. Aggravate is a verb meaning make worse, make heavier, really. Make worse. He aggravated the situation by lying. His wounds were aggravated, maybe, because they were not treated quickly. Aggressive, attacking. An aggressive policy, an aggressive person, an aggressive behavior. Attacking, not timid. Agitated, restless. People, mostly, but the sea, the ocean can be agitated too. Agnosticism, good. An agnostic, a person, an agnostic, this is often misunderstood, I think. The agnostic simply claims that he does not know. Mainly this is about God. The existence, as we say, of God, which is a misnomer too. Wonder if that's here, but that's a real good word. Misnomer. Add it to your list. But an agnostic says, I don't know. We'll talk about that sometime, because that is a loaded topic, very interesting. Alchemist. Alchemists don't exist much anymore. They existed in the West during the Middle Ages. The alchemists were like early chemists. Their goal, though, was to discover how to make gold and become rich. So, early chemists. Alien, adjective, foreigner, different. Aliens from outer space or aliens within our own culture. To allege is to... allege is almost to accuse. No, let's say... To allege is to say, to contend. He alleged that, how should we say? He alleged that there was no money left in the treasury, but there was. He contended, he said, maybe wrong though. That is what he's saying. To allude is to refer, allude to. But it's not the same, and people use it as the same. To allude to, mostly you allude to something that has been written or spoken. I allude to a scene in Shakespeare, in Hamlet, Act 3, Scene 2, something. I don't allude to the weather or something like that. It's mostly written or spoken by someone. Alluring means attractive. Her beauty and the alluring, her alluring personality, very attractive, makes people want to come to her. Alteration, change. An alteration, whether of my shirt's too big, I need an alteration, or an alteration change. Altruistic means thinking of others. The opposite from altruistic is egotistic. An egotist or egoist thinks of I, ego. An altruist thinks of other people before himself. Naturally, there are not many altruists in the world. Ambivalent. Ambivalent means having mixed feelings about something. I have ambivalent feelings about Bush's presidency, if Bush is the president. As it appears he will be. Mixed. To amble is a verb, which means to walk in a kind of casual way. He ambled over to me, walked casually. Amenities, good word, plural form. Singular is possible, but the amenities are the social forms. Good morning, how are you? Did you have a nice evening? I hope you're feeling well. These are amenities, the pleasant forms of civilized life. They can also be not just verbal, they can be things. For example, the amenities can be even like facilities, toilets, nice toilets. The amenities in some schools are primitive or bad or something like that. Amiable means friendly. More than friendly, likable. An amiable personality, everyone likes him or her. Amicable is friendly. Their divorce ended amicably, adverb. That is, not acrimoniously. Opposites, amicable, acrimonious. Amicable is also the opposite of hostile. Amity, good word, too good for SSAT. Amity is basically friendship. Ammunition, guns, rifle, bullets, cannons, shells, these are ammunition. Amnesty. Amnesty is basically pardon. That is, the government offered the rebels an amnesty, meaning basically a pardon. They would not punish them for rebelling against the government. Very famous, importantly famous publication in the world from England is Amnesty International. And I think most people would agree it's one of the few sources of information in the world about political doings in bad places. Talk about that sometime if Dr. Shin permits, but some other time. Amoral, good word. Amoral means having no morality. Not good, not bad. An amoral person recognizes no morality. Nothing is good, nothing is bad. Everything is permitted. Amorous, adjective, loving. An amorous couple, very affectionate, fond of each other. Amorphous, having no shape, having no form. An amorphous glob of liquid, or an amorphous, mostly liquid, amorphous collection of something, having no fixed form. Amplified is mostly made larger. To amplify something is to make it larger. But you can amplify a speech or a discourse on something. That is, make it larger, talk more about it. Amulet. An amulet is a lucky charm. Good. Anachronism, good word. An anachronism is contrary to the time. For example, if I make a movie, and better yet, I make a movie about the Chosun dynasty, and two people are talking, and one of these people takes out his cell phone. Possible? No, an anachronism. It's impossible that Chosun dynasty people would have a cell phone, correct? Okay. Analogy. I just gave you an analogy. An analogy is a similar situation used for comparison. Anarchy, good words. Really, it's a very good list. Anyone who knows all these words has a very good vocabulary. Anarchy is absence of law. Anarchy means there is no law. No one behaves no one obeys any laws. Everyone simply does whatever he or she wants to do. Many people fear anarchy. Anatomy. Anatomy is the study of the body, usually the human body. It's a branch, or it's a subject which doctors must study in order to become doctors. Ancient. Ancient means very old. Ancient civilizations. The Indus Valley civilization and the Sumerian civilization, and so forth. Androgynous. Androgynous means having the characteristics both of males and females. Well, this is unusual in a physical, anatomical sense, But in a way, young people's clothing has become more and more androgynous. That is, boys and girls dress in very similar ways. Androgynous. Animosity, hostility, strong dislike. He felt an animosity against me, I don't know why. Annihilate is a verb which means to destroy completely, so much that nothing is left. To annihilate a city, to annihilate a civilization, destroy. Anniversary literally is an annual celebration, like of a birthday or of a wedding. They celebrated their 50th wedding anniversary. Annoy. Annoy is to irritate. He annoyed me when he said something. He irritated me. Page 2, anonymous. Anonymous means without name, literally. The anonymous author of that book or the author of that book was anonymous. That is, had no name. X. Who is the author of that book? X. Antagonist. Antagonist, the word is used mostly in literature, the study of literature. The antagonist is the person who is at the center of the action and makes the action happen. But antagonistic means attacking, hostile, aggressive, belligerent, which is probably here too. Yep. In fact, twice. It's okay. Antagonistic means hostile in that way. The antagonist is the person who is, let's say, the bad guy. To antagonize is to irritate, to annoy, but it's more. My child antagonized me by nagging me for money or permission to do something. Antecedent, good word. Our antecedents are basically our ancestors. However, I used the word antecedent in grammar only yesterday with Dr. Shin by saying that all pronouns must have antecedents. That is, if I say, it is beautiful, you don't know who it is, to whom it refers, unless you know the antecedent. But if I say, but if you know that it refers to my piano, then the antecedent to it is the piano. Okay. Anthropology is the study of man. Now, it has become much more than that, or much less than that in a way. Anthropologists excavate cities and discover especially old cultures. This is cultural anthropology. But really it should be just the study of man. Anticipate is to expect, look forward to something. The weatherman anticipates rain today. He expects rain today. Antidote is the usually drug taken to fight against some bad bacteria or some bad germs in the body. Antipathy, very similar to animosity. He felt an antipathy for something. Let's see if aversion, there's aversion. Yep. Antipathy is very similar to aversion. That is almost hatred, strong dislike. Antique, we had ancient before. Let's use it as a noun. Goldong pum. I know that because I like antiques. Antiques, you have it. Old objects, usually that have value. Antithesis. The antithesis of something is the opposite of something. The antithesis of cold is hot. Usually antithesis has a more serious meaning, though, than cold and hot. He was the antithesis of kindness. Apartheid. Apartheid is a South African word which became famous in the struggle for civil rights in South Africa. Apartheid was the government policy of separate keeping the races separate, no contact, or minimal contact. Apathetic and apathy, treat them together. Apathy is indifference. If I feel apathy about if many people feel apathy or feel apathetic about the presidential election, they are bored by it and don't care anymore. Who wins, Gore or Bush? Apathy, public apathy. Apex is the peak, the summit, the top, usually of a mountain or of a curve even, in math maybe. An apologist of something or for something is a person who defends it. He was an apologist for apartheid 30 years ago, meaning he defended it. He wrote about it and spoke about it. An apologist. Apparatus is a structure that supports something, especially. A structure. A building, no. Something on a smaller scale, maybe a model, I don't know. An apparatus is something, a structure that is put together. Difficult. Skip it. Appease is a verb which means to placate, probably here, to calm, to soothe someone. He was angry, but we appeased him by telling him that he would get his money back or something. Appointment, easy meaning. The government appointed someone to investigate some question. The government's appointment was disapproved of. Appointment in a more ancient meaning has to do with the arrangement of furniture and the furniture itself in a room or in a house. The elegance of it, I think. I'm not sure of that. I haven't heard it for a long time. To appraise is to evaluate. They appraised my performance positively or negatively, to evaluate. Approbation. Approbation is approval. We won their approbation. They approved of what we had done. Approval, approbation, same. Noun. Approve, to approve is to praise, basically, not quite as strong as praise, but to offer praise for. Approximate and approximate, same spelling, adjective and verb. The adjective is much more important. An approximate definition of something is close, not exact, close. Usually the adverb is used, approximately. Seoul is approximately 250 kilometers north of Daegu. Approximately. About. Good word. Aptitude. SSAT. The A in SSAT means aptitude. Aptitude is almost talent. Talent for something. Ability to do something. He has an aptitude for stealing or lying or maybe English or something. An arbitrator is a person who intervenes between two people who are arguing. The arbitrator helps them to make a decision in favor of one or the other to end the hostility. Arch rival, I think, is misspelled here. Arch rival is let's say the arch rival of the Samsung Lions is Hyundai or something. The rival that Samsung most hates or wants to beat. Arctic means very cold, like the Arctic Circle up at the North Pole. Arena, an interesting word, the roots of which mean sand. An arena is an area in which people fight, especially boxing arena, wrestling arena. Aristocracy is the ruling class of a society by heredity. That's important. The aristocracy holds inherited positions. Arson is a crime, the crime of setting fires to hurt people or to destroy property. Artificial adjective, not genuine, not real. Artificial turf, artificial or synthetic materials are not natural. Askew is off balance. The boy ran by the sign and knocked it askew so that it was no longer standing up straight, but askew. Assign, to assign, is to name. To assign a person to a position is to name that person. Assign a task to students is to give them homework. Assigned, strange, same. To assuage is very similar to appease. To assuage is to calm, to soothe. The beautiful music assuaged me, or assuaged my nerves, calmed me. To assume, many meanings, but I'm going to use assume like presume. I assumed when he arrived looking exhausted, I assumed that he had not slept. I assumed. I took for granted, as we say. I inferred. Astute, we had before, like adroit, quick, sharp, intelligent. Asylum is a place of protection for a fugitive. It could be a fugitive from the law, or a political refugee, or like that, a place of protection. To atone, usually for something. Religious meaning, especially in Christianity. But to atone for something is to make up for, to expiate. Wonder if that's here. Is expiate here, Dr. Shin? That's rough. No, good. To atone, if I want to atone for my sins, and I urge you guys, when you try to get into Western culture, this concept of sin, which Dr. Shin and I will talk about sometime, it seems to me is a huge difference between East and West. In any case, to atone for a sin is to try to make up for it. Attract, here twice, means verb to bring, to lure to one. He attracted me, or he attracted me by gesturing and saying, "Come here, come here." The sign attracted a lot of attention. It's better. To augment is a verb meaning to increase. To augment the, not the price, the, hard. Taxes, maybe? That's a hard one. It means to increase, but I'm unsure of what it's used about. Auspicious means promising, a good sign. An auspicious beginning is a good beginning. A good beginning so that people feel good about everything. Austerity is simplicity. To lead a life of austerity means to avoid luxuries, avoid frills, as we say, and simplify one's life as much as possible. Not fancy foods, not fancy drinks, not fancy entertainment, simplicity. Authentic, real, genuine, not fake, not phony. Authentic gold, authentic, an authentic person is like a sincere person, not phony, not fake. To authorize is to give a person the power to do something. He authorized me to represent the government when I spoke. Avarice, greed, one of the 7 deadly sins. Greed. Average, neither good nor bad. Average. Aversion, we had this before. Antipathy, strong dislike, almost hatred for something. He had an aversion for kimchi. Aviator. An aviator is a person who flies airplanes or is interested in aviation. Avowal, an avowal is a noun meaning a confession. An avowal of his dislike for something, confession. Bailiff is a court official in a court who tries to keep law and order. The prisoner became hostile and violent, so the bailiff had to control him. Bargain, a bargain, noun and verb. I think the noun is more important. A bargain is a good price, discount, as we say, a good price for something, a bargain. To bargain for something is to say, what is the price? 5,000 won. I will give you 4,000 won. I'm bargaining. Basement is the lower part of a building, especially a house. Batch is a group of something, or a batch of cookies is a number of cookies that usually have just been cooked, coming out of the oven. Bellicose and belligerent, almost the same. Both mean liking fighting, liking war. Bellicose is really war. Belligerent personality is a person abrasive who likes conflict. Bellicose is not individuals but countries. Belligerent can be country, but it can be an individual as well. Benediction, nice, good word. He gave me his benediction. He blessed me. I asked my father for benediction. Benediction is part of the religious service for Christians anyway. In the name of the Father and the Son and the Holy Spirit, go and live in peace. Benefit is noun and verb. Benefit, the noun is more important, I think. He gave me the benefit of his advice. That is, a benefit does good for someone. As a verb, his gift of $1 million benefited the orphanage. Does good, did good. Benevolent. Benevolent means wanting good. The two words are interesting. Bene, good. Fit, doing. Bene, good. Vol, wanting. There's a big difference. If I am a benevolent person, I want good things. If I am a beneficent person, I do good things. Big difference. We're all vaguely benevolent. We are not all beneficent. Interesting. In ethics, good distinction. Bequeath. To bequeath something, if I bequeath to an orphanage a lot of my money, I leave my money to that orphanage, especially before I die, but it can be after I die too. To beseech is to beg. I beseech you, children, learn these words. I implore you, learn these words. I beg you, learn these words. To besiege is to attack, but is to attack like a besieged city is surrounded by the enemy. The enemy wants to take that city, to capture and destroy the city maybe, but to besiege is to attack by surrounding. Beverage is something to drink. Alcoholic beverage or not non-alcoholic beverage. Bewilder, verb. His attitude bewildered me, meaning it confused me, it left me perplexed. Good word. What does he mean? What is he talking about? I'm bewildered. To bid. Ooh, many meanings. I'll use the most modern meaning. We go to an auction. A painting is held up for sale. I bid $500. My neighbor bids $600. I bid $700, and so forth. To bilk, good word, too good for SSAT. To bilk is to cheat. He bilked me out of $100. He cheated me out of $100. Bipartisan. A bipartisan law is a law that is approved by both sides, by both Hanara and Minju. Both sides approve. It's a bipartisan law or bipartisan action. To bisect is to cut into two and to look inside. Bizarre. Bizarre is strange, a French word but often used in English. His behavior was bizarre. Strange. What strange? Blade. The blade of a knife is the cutting part. Blazing. Blazing speed is very fast as light maybe. A blazing comet moves quickly through the sky, like light. A blazing fire burns light. Bleak, similar to dismal. Let's see if dismal is here. No, that's okay. Bleak, some winter days are bleak. The weather is so gray, so cold, so cheerless. Bleak. A blizzard is a snowstorm, especially, but it is thick snow so that we can't even see. It's difficult to see far. Blizzard, scary. Bluff. I'm going to use the verb bluff. We're playing cards. I have a bad hand of cards, but we're betting, and I bet a lot of money. I'm going to try to bluff my fellows into thinking that I have a good hand. If I'm successful, they say I give up. They give up. I win. I bluffed. Governments can bluff too. Bona fide. Bona fide. Latin, in good faith or with good faith. A bona fide, it's often misused. A bona fide certified. That is, I have a piece of paper that says I'm an expert in some field. I'm a bona fide expert. It's difficult to explain. Too good for SSAT, I think. Boorish. Many of these words are just excellent. If you know all these words, you have an excellent vocabulary. Boorish. Great word. His behavior was boorish. That means he was drunk, maybe. He made terrible sounds. He spilled things. He was rude to people. Boorish. Great word. Bore. Very common in school, we know. Verb and noun. Mostly verb. His lecture bored me. Oh. Boring. Boredom. You know all this. A boulder is a large stone, rock, usually in the mountains, in the hills at least, impossible to move. Bounce, you know that, a ball bounces. Bounteous, good word. Bounteous is generous, abundant. A person can be a bounteous, meaning generous. But we may have a bounteous harvest this year, meaning lots of corn, lots of rice. Bounteous, good word. Brackets, I used this word yesterday in our grammar discussion. Square, squares that contain words, not to be confused with parentheses, curved lines. Brackets occur only within a within a quotation, often misused. Bravery, courage. He showed great bravery, courage. The difference is that courage may be moral courage. He stood up and said, I disagree with all of you. And he was in danger when he said this. Bravery is physical bravery. The soldier dived on the grenade and gave his life. Difference. Brawl, noun I'll say, verb also, is a wild fight, like in a bar room where many people are involved, messy. Brigadier, strange. A brigadier it's an adjective form of brigade. A brigade is a large element in the military. A brigadier general is, strictly speaking, a general who is the leader of that brigade. Large number of people. To browbeat is to scold and nag. To browbeat someone about something, you must study more. You must study. It's not really scold, it's kind of nag. To nag someone. Cajole is to try to persuade someone more calmly. Oh, please help me. Oh, please give me money. Oh, please do something for me. That's cajole. Callous, hard, adjective. He was callous toward the people who were suffering, meaning he was unfeeling, callous. His behavior was callous also. Candidate, the candidates for the American presidency, the number 1 and 2 candidates are Bush and Gore. You know that. To capitulate is to surrender. The city capitulated after a long siege, meaning we surrender, we give up. You and I have an argument about something, or my children ask me for something, cajole me, browbeat me. Finally, I capitulate, I give up. Okay. Captive, especially a noun, the captives are the people who are in captivity, who have been captured, the two words together. Cargo, the goods that are carried especially by a ship for trade purposes, or don't know. Carnage, this is blood that has been spilled. The battle, after the battle, the carnage seemed endless. That is, lots of dead and badly wounded bodies. The blood that has been spilled. Terrible carnage. Good word. Carnality. You see the same root here. Carnage, carnality, carnivorous. Good. Good. All Latinate. 90% of these words are Latinate. They all come, 90% at least come from Latin. Carnality is fleshliness, or flesh. That is the carnality. Carnality. Oh boy. If I pay attention to carnality or carnal beauty more than to spiritual beauty, I only care about the physical features or the body of someone, the flesh. Carnivorous means eating flesh. Man is mostly a carnivorous animal. A tiger is totally carnivorous, eats only flesh. Castigation, punishment, strong punishment. To castigate someone is to punish someone verbally, maybe, but strong. Cathedral. A cathedral, strictly speaking, is a building in which, a religious building in which a bishop speaks ex cathedra from the cathedra, which is the chair or throne for the bishop. So a cathedral, strictly speaking, is a building where a bishop in the Catholic Church, namely, has his seat. Caustic, like acerbic, cutting. Caustic is from the same is from the idea of acid. You pour acid on someone and it burns and cuts. Terrible. Caustic sense of humor. Burning, cutting. To cede is to yield. He ceded, the young man ceded or yielded his seat to the elderly person when the elderly person got on the bus. Doesn't happen much anymore, they say. Celebrated, famous. Celerity, good, too good for SSAT, means swiftness, very quickness. Celestial, of the sky, great words. Again, if you know these words, you have excellent vocabularies. To censure, by the way, celestial beauty, the celestial beauty of the stars that night in the sky. To censure someone is to condemn that person's behavior. He was censured by his comrades in the Senate, meaning everyone said, this is terrible what you did. Ceremonial, having to do with ceremony, a ceremonial welcome. Clinton arrived in Vietnam yesterday to a ceremonial welcome. The government high officials were there, everyone smiled. Ceremonial. Chagrin, good word, too good. To my chagrin, my candidate did not win in the election, let's say. To my displeasure, strong displeasure. Chaotic. I hear more and more this word in Korean. Chaos, chaotic. Notice the pronunciation. Chaos, total disorder. Chaotic behavior, wild, unrestrained. Chaperone is a person who usually attends an event with someone, especially with a small person, a minor, especially with a girl. A boy and girl go out together and the parent chaperones, goes along. Doesn't happen much. Chef, French word, chief, but chef mainly in the kitchen, the #1 cook who oversees the cooking in the kitchen in a restaurant. Chronic, having to do with time, but a chronic disease is a disease that lasts over long periods of time. A chronic offender is a person who offends, who commits crimes, or minor crimes at least, again and again. Chronicle, I'll use it as a noun. A chronicle is a written document about some time in history, especially. Circuitous means going around in a circle. Circuitous logic is logic that begins and ends at the same point, goes around and around without building towards some conclusion. Circumambulate means to walk around and around and around the same spot. Circumference is the line mostly that goes around the outside of a circle. It can be the distance from this point in the circle all the way around to the same point as the circumference. To circumscribe is to write or draw usually a circle around something. Circumspect, best word of these, I think. Circumspect is an adjective. If I am circumspect, I am prudent. I look around before I jump to conclusions, before I act. I'm prudent, cautious. Citadel is the fortress of some people, or maybe even some group. For example, a citadel of learning is Harvard, maybe. A fortress of learning. Clamor, I'll use it as a verb, it's a noun too. Again, Latin, Latin, Latin. 90% of these words are Latinate. Clamor is a lot of noise, by human voices especially. They clamored for an appearance. They clamored for their favorite person. That is, they yelled and screamed and called his name, let's say. Clientele, a collective word meaning the clients of some business. Altogether, they are the clientele. Cloak is a garment that's worn over the shoulders, but to cloak something is to kind of conceal. He cloaked his hostility, even. He concealed or hid his hostility. Coalesce is to grow together. From biology, you see the ESCE, like adolescent, a process word. Coalesce means growing together. Can two political parties coalesce? Maybe. Grow together. Coarse, good word, like boorish, before. Coarse is not smooth, not civilized, barbaric. Cogent, good word. Cogent means forceful. Cogent logic means if this is true, then this must be true. If this is true, then this must be true. Cogent thinking and arguments. Logical, forceful. Cognizant, aware. I am cognizant of the fact that you are foreign students learning this foreign language, but I'm encouraging you to learn it anyway. All Latinate, all Latinate. When students go to America to study English, I used to urge them to study Latin, and I still think it's a good idea for the people who really want to aim high. It's a great way to really get inside the English language. Learn Latin and French and German, of course. Unrealistic, but Latin is the most important, I think, of the three. Much more important than German for students of English. To cohere, earlier we had to adhere. To cohere is to stick together. To adhere was to stick to. All Latin. Coherent, sticking together. A coherent group sticks together, supports each other. Coherent, sticking together. Cohesive, again, sticking together. Cohesive is from cohere. Finally, I'll end on this one. Collaborate. Collaborate is a verb meaning to work together. They collaborated. Dr. Shin and I are collaborating in our efforts to give you guys a good education. Thank you.